All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to be actually coming to you from a off-site location. I'm in Arizona right now, visiting some friends and family for the holiday and New Year's. But the show must go on. So we're going to be doing a live here in the kitchen and at the Airbnb that I'm staying at. But it's going to be just me. Ralph is actually on a plane and he's taxiing right now. So the reason for the little bit of a delay is he was getting me the login information. So today we're going to be actually talking about a couple of things. One main thing that we're going to be discussing is actually something called the eCPNV MPI. What that stands for is the effective cost of a new visit, and the MPI stands for the marketing performance indicator. So, an eCPNV is an extremely important metric to track because eCPNV tells you how much scalability is going to cost when you are trying to increase the amount of cold traffic in a campaign. Typically, what we look at is CPC, and where the CPC is going to be indicative of in-platform cost per click, but it does not tell you if it's a new customer, if it's a returning customer, if it's a new user, if it's a returning user, and depending upon your time lag and how many clicks you're going to need in order to convert a user in that one campaign or that funnel, the eCPNV is extremely important for you to measure in order to know how much money should I be able to put into this campaign and what do I expect to see out of it? What do I expect the result to be after I dump in whatever amount of money that you're going to be putting into that campaign? It's the reason why people start to scale campaigns and say, it's not working, or things are just not actually showing up well inside of my backend. Like if the new users are not really increasing, I started to add in more ad spend, but I don't really see anything kind of coming out of it. I don't really see the results coming out of it. And it's because the cold traffic is costing you different than what the CPC is costing you. When you have a eCPNV, that is going to be the actual cost of scaling cold traffic. Now, Performance Max, Advantage Plus Shopping, Demand Gen, all of those are going to be focusing more and more on warm traffic, because it is trying to get a multi-click journey in order for the user to convert, but keep it isolated in a singular campaign. It's going to do your prospecting. It's going to do your remarketing. It's going to do your new customer acquisition. It's going to do your existing customer remarketing. It's going to do your existing customer return acquisition as well. It's going to take all of those pools of users and it's going to equally divide up the ad spend on those people in order for you to continually to grow and increase your funnel. It's a reason why Performance Max, what it says is it takes about 45 to 60 days to optimize. Yes, but if you wanted to have an all-in-one funnel, if you're like, hey, I want this to do my cold traffic, my remarketing, my omni-channel remarketing, I want it to be on search, shopping, YouTube, GSP, Discover, Display. I want it to go to my returning users. I want it to go to my, remarketing of my new customers and my returning customers. All of that is included in each one of the Performance Max and Advantage Plus campaigns. You can start to tone down the amount of ad spend going to these users. However, it is also important to know that if you start to exclude brand, or if you start to exclude your existing customers, it's only about 30 to 40% effective. I mean, I've absolutely seen it 80% effective. I've also seen it 5% effective. So it's a varying degree of success when you start to add in these exclusion areas, but just know that whatever you exclude inside of Performance Max, you're going to need to make up for elsewhere. You can't just say, hey, just make this thing a prospecting beast. It goes against the functionality of those tools. Demand Gen, Performance Max, Advantage Plus Shopping, all of these feed only, all of these campaigns are going to perform multi-functions. And to take something and change it into something is daunting for that. It's saying, hey, I know, it's almost like saying, hey, you have a car with 4 wheels, but I want to remove those 3 wheels and make it like a super wheel. It's just going to drag down the road. It performs inefficiently because we're not exacerbating what the functionality is. We're simply trying to take something that is and then change it. So eCPNV is a very, very, very important metric to watch and to monitor so that you know, even outside of MER, outside of CAC, how is this campaign going to scale? And can it scale? And can it scale profitably? So I'm going to hop into Data Suite right now because I want to kind of share an example of this. and it's a really important topic. We'll do this one kind of quickly. I want to do a lot of good Q&A today. So Mike, I thank you for dropping in the question. Anybody else that is watching right now, if you have questions, start dropping them in. We're going to do a good amount of Q&A today because this is going to be a little bit of a short kind of fun live, but I want to make sure we keep delivering you the content that you guys like, know, and deserve. So we're going to still do my education. We're going to cover eCPNV. This is something that you can kind of take back and think. We're going to talk about the sources, what they mean, how it works, all that kind of good stuff. And then we'll jump into Q&A. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop that in here. I'll be answering questions as soon as we're done with the eCPNV, but it is eye-opening. It is amazing to see how much this one example of a company that I'm a part owner in, or have kind of like a skin in the game in. This is something that when we look at things is a very important metric when you're like, okay, this is working, let's scale. What can you expect from that scale is where eCPNV kind of comes in. So I'm going to share screen. Again, I'm on a laptop and I'm on a Wi-Fi connection. So if you're okay with it, I'm just going to actually pause my camera for a moment because I'm going to start to share screen. And this is going to be helpful for us all to look at here. Hopefully, there we go. I'm really hoping that you all can see this. It looks like it's sharing right, so that's good. But this is what we're going to be kind of going to here. So I'm going to go to a report called Mission Control. And Mission Control is going to be kind of telling us what's going on here. And we actually started to scale this up, actually. I think it was like December 1st, and this thing's still cranking. We're still scaling this thing up really well. Let's go to the first tier. We'll wait till give this a minute to load. Again, I'm on Airbnb Wi-Fi right now, so it's not always the best, but it should work for you all. All right, so here's a couple things. You can see that our media efficiency ratio here has stayed about flat. Like we always want to keep it at about a 1/2, or actually sometimes more than half of all of our sales actually happen with inside of Amazon. So what we're tracking right now is non-Amazon sales. These are actually just the Shopify store sales and just the subscribers on Shopify. So no Amazon, which is about double. So maintaining this flat is very, very good. So you can, and I won't draw on the screen because it's going to be really hard for me to do. But in the last, since November 1st to January 1st, we have 690,000 in revenue. We see that our customers went from, kind of peaking here, 47 a day, even on the lulls right here is 19. And now as we pushed up, went through kind of Christmas right here, pushed up again, and now we're peaking at 111. But you can see that our media efficiency ratio is, 1.0 with the 111. And when it was down here at 21 on what day is this here? That day is the 24th. When we look at the 24th here, it's 0.84. So we actually have a better media efficiency ratio and more new customers during this time period. The reason why I call this out is not to say like, look how good we are and look how to brag, but I want to explain how you can get there and the metric to watch. So as I scroll down here, what you're going to notice is you're going to see a whole bunch of channels. Now we have $700,000 in cost here, and then we have $45,000 in cost here. Now, at any point in time, if you start to change these metrics, like if I just go into the last day here, you can see the budgetary splits between these networks. And I'm just going to do a quick check. I'm not really good doing this alone. I don't have anybody else that's also helping me out here. But yeah, you guys all can still see this. Good. Okay, so if you look at the scenario here, we're only spending $5,000 on Google Ads and then $100,000 on Meta, and this is each week. Now, what you'll notice is if we go back in a little bit further in time, before we started to kind of scale this up, if we just look at like kind of, I don't know why this isn't, okay, maybe just go into like November. Cool. If we go into November here from the 1st through the 30th, this same metric here, when we were kind of before we started to scale up, you'll notice that our CAC here on Google Ads and Facebook, 240,000 and 22,000. So the ratio actually was 105, and this is doubled to 200. This didn't double to 10. This was an increase under, basically 20% of the total. This did not increase. So the new budgetary split is like basically 5%. This is much more of a budgetary split. Back then, we had much more money going into Google Ads. And what you'll notice is our CAC, we say, hey, it's $358 on Google, and it's $360 on Facebook. You would think, why did you actually take that and remove a lot of that cost and then put majority of the money in Facebook? You actually technically had a better CAC on Google Ads. And the reason why is as we started to scale up more and more and more in terms of our in terms of our budgets in both, when we started to push in Google and push in Meta at the same time, you'll see that the nCAC goes from 358 and 360. Now let's push this scale. This is on a month where we had $258,000 in revenue. If we just look at the last 7 days, we're now at 110,000. So we're more than 2x where we were back then. But we didn't put any more money into Google. We put everything into Meta. And now the CAC is 563 and the CAC is 240. So why the switch? Well, it's eCPNV. Our new visits that are coming into Performance Max are 1.9% new. 1.9% new in Performance Max. Performance Max looks like it's just raking in the dough. It's like, yeah, we got 600, 700, 800 ROAS. CPC is like 5 cents. The CPA is like $2. But when we look at the cost of new visitors, that is $64 every time someone comes to the site. That is new. Really, really cheap CPC. But when you get a new person to the site, out of every 4,000 clicks we get, we actually only get like 100, or no, there it is. Every 4,000 clicks we get in Google Ads, 76 people are new. This is the reason why when you're looking at automated targeting and you're setting up your omni-channel strategies and you're looking at what tools to deploy at what sections of the funnel, the reason why we only spend $5,000 out of 113,000 is because it cost us $64 every single time someone is coming to the site new. The product we sell is only $59. It technically costs me more money to bring a user to the site in Performance Max than the product that they can even buy. I'll say it again. It costs us more money to get a new user to the site in Performance Max than what we can even sell our product for by $5. That is insane. That is appalling. And that is unbelievable. So things like, yeah, you got, you're spending $4,800 in Wicked. Yeah, we did make like, $2,400, but nothing that came from there. And now back then, when we look at all of November, let's just move this back here. Back then in November, when we had 240 in Facebook and 22 in Google, it was costing us $37 for a new visit. And when we started pushing money into it, we're like, man, this thing's like pushing rope. Like nothing's coming out of this thing. We keep adding more and more and more money. And Google's like, yeah, good job. I can make it more revenue. The media efficiency rate or the ROAS in app was looking high because, of course, if Performance Max can have a touch point, they can claim 100% responsibility. So it will look amazing until you kind of say, well, what about the new customers? Well, yeah, the nCAC's 358. Look good. This will capture demand. nCAC is not a be-all, end-all when you're looking at omni-channel strategies. It's simply where did the new customer end? And I can prove it because if we have 13,000 or 14,000 people coming, we only have 613 that are new. The people that this nCAC is going off of here, that 358 that's beating Meta, is actually off of no one that came from Google. So eCPNV, if you're looking at eCPNV, this is what you have to think about. Okay, if I'm looking to grow and scale a channel, and that growing and scaling of that channel is going to be profitable, imagine if your cost per click wasn't $1. What if your cost per click was $37? Would you dump ad spend there? Of course not. It would be a black hole of money. I mean, I could get 2 clicks, and unless I have 100% conversion rate, this thing is gonna lose money. But because we're purposely moving into that area, because we said, hey, we know the omni-channel flow, we know the traffic strategy, we know where these people are coming from and where they're going. And if I look at this date here, actually, I'll go through and change it, but let's do this. If we look at inside of funnel vision and we do the same comparison, let's just do, screw it. We'll do full funnel, conversion date. That's fine. And then let's do the comparison. That's good there. So we can wait for this to load. Hope everyone had a good holiday and New Year's break. I'll just start talking awkwardly to myself here while this loads for your all's entertainment. There we go. All right. So when we added in 81%, we went from $250,000 to $471,000 of cost per month. That's why when you see last week, we spent 100 G's. Our new customers are increasing by 102, which is actually beating the amount of increase in cost, which is dropping our nCAC 31%, 334 down to 228. Looking good, yippee skippy, everything's happy. And that's because we only scaled Meta. When we're looking at new revenue going up 1,000%, and we're looking at new revenue going up another 1,000%. Now our nCAC needs to be kind of below 300, right? Yeah, now it's way below. It's 218, 203. Great. So what's interesting about this is when you know what it's going to cost you to scale a campaign in relation to new visits, in relation to how much a new visit is going to cost you, you can say, oh, that's where we can dump the ad spend. Typically, if you're running Performance Max, you're like, all right, let's scale this up. Well, what do you hope to get out of Performance Max? Man, I really hope to get a new customer. You can. Now, do you hope to generate a new customer or do you hope to capture a new customer? The capturing of a new customer is going to be nice, easy, fast, cheap. You only spend $5 out of $100,000 there. Your CAC is about the same, but they're not coming from there. So don't add in 30, 40, 50% of your total omni-channel marketing spend in Performance Max if it's getting, only 2 or 1.9% cold traffic. That will not scale. You will scale, but you'll see your CAC scale too. If you want to scale and see your CAC decrease, you can only do that off of where you can identify that the new visitors are coming from and what that's costing you. And if everyone watching this, I know you're all good marketers because you're here. Haha, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But if you're looking at $4 CPCs and $56 CPCs, would you ever raise that? No. We know that this thing's only getting 2% cold traffic, but that's not the point. We want this simply just to capture the additional 15 grand in revenue that we probably would have lost. And we're willing to pay 23,000 for that because our LTV is fantastic. And if I can remarket the crap out of these people with Performance Max on YouTube, GSP, Discover, Search, Shopping, Display, I will probably increase my Amazon sales. And that is exactly what is happening. So eCPNV is one of the most important metrics for omni-channel scale because that is going to tell you every dollar you put in is going to increase your new customer demand generation by 2.3 cents. Every dollar you put in, 2.3 pennies are going to go to new customers. If that is a scenario, abandon ship. Do not put the ad spend there. That will never scale. This really highlights the amount of prospecting that the channels can perform when you set them up correctly, where you get 100,000 new visits and 422, but we still spent 24 grand there. So I'm going to pause this and I'm going to come back. Okay, cool. I'm back. So that's the importance of looking at eCPNV. Effective cost per new visit is going to give you the exact blueprint on if I add ad spend there, that is what I can expect. Now, the tier 11 data suite it's not exclusive to eCPNV, but that is going to be baked into future development. And it's going to be baked into omni-channel KPIs. It's going to be baked into first click nCACs. It's going to be baked into every metric that you can analyze and say, okay, this is where I should be able to put my money. This is still in testing for a case study. It's not testing in terms of for data suite. Data suite's, rock solid. It's going to be developed further with like a better UI and that kind of stuff. But we're using this and saying, can we actually build quality omni-channel scalable case studies off of it? And that's what I wanted to share with you today. And it's not going to be a pitch for data suite. If you're like, okay, how do I get that? Unfortunately, Google Ads doesn't give you it. GA4 doesn't give you it. It gives you new visits, but it's within the time. So it says, if you're looking at the last 7 days, the amount of people that are new in the last 7 days is that percentage of new visits. It's not new since eternity. It's new in the time frame that you're looking at. So people are like, well, GA4 says 85% of the people are new. It's like, yes, 85% of the people are new yesterday because you're looking at yesterday, but 90% of those people were there also the day before. So it's a false metric that GA4, for whatever reason, likes to kind of tout around, but it's not anything that you would say is an omni-channel, like kind of scalability. So it's just important to know those metrics, get familiar with those metrics, get comfortable with those metrics, and understand how they operate within an omni-channel ecosystem, and know that that eCPNV is where you're going to say, if I have, my next dollar and I put it in there, that's what it's going to cost you to get a new visit. And you can set it for Performance Max to be completely scalable and completely cold traffic. You absolutely can. I'm not saying that Performance Max is a failure. I'm saying we're using it to say, okay, Performance Max for our use case, we are pushing on Meta, bolt on a Performance Max with feed only. We're even excluding the brand too, because we do more remarketing. But even with that excluding the brand, it's still hunting down the people that are already on the site simply because it doesn't have enough ad spend to go into demand generation. So we're doing this on purpose. We're setting it up for our funnel for that reason, so that when we keep dumping more and more money, every $100,000 we put into Meta and put 5,000 into Google. We want it, but we want to use it appropriately. If we're looking at every single channel inside of Google, Meta, TikTok, and we say all of this must be cold because look at the CPC and look at the ROAS and look at the CPA, we're missing the big picture. And then we say, yeah, but we're scaling, but things aren't getting as good. We're scaling, but we're seeing inefficiencies. We're scaling, but we're losing money. We're scaling, we're not as profitable. That's because we're probably scaling in the wrong area. What do you expect? And how did you inspect that to inspect that area to say, okay, now that I've inspected that, I know what to expect. We should never, as digital marketers, just kind of throw money in and be like, I hope that doesn't blow up. And that's the important of that metric, that MPI, that eCPNV, that marketing performance indicators that we created are there for a guideline, a tool for you to say, this is the funnel that you've created, your omni-channel traffic strategy. This is what is actually happening now. And that helps you kind of, steer your marketing into a nice, scalable, profitable company. Cool. All right. So we're at the halfway point. I know I started late, but I think, I promised you all that we'll do a bunch of Q&A. And if we need to end early today, we can end early today. I know I'm kind of, here alone, and this is just kind of like a little, I wouldn't say freebie because you guys, it's not something that we charge for anyway, but it's going to be something that I want to make sure to get in as much value as you possibly can out of this. But this was all that we really had planned for today. It was a nice case study. And also the MPI, I think, is very, 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 very important for all digital marketers. So this should apply to you all. So I was trying to keep something that everyone can find valuable and get some use out of it. So hopefully that is what you all saw today. All right, let's dive into some questions. All right, I think I can do this here. Hey, there we go. Mike, hi John, got any strategies advice for generating buyer seller leads for real estate agents working with a client that has an IDX? Okay. Should I recommend using landing pages due to them being more conversion friendly? Also, how should we track the profitability of the back end if sales could take more than 90 days? Life of Pixels, offline conversion tracking may not work. Yes. So a few things. If a client has an IDX, what we have actually found that can work well when you're talking about paid media is you can build kind of like a landing / splash page. And what's nice about that is IDXs are nice. They're great for in terms of inventory, but they really, really, really suck at branding, and they really suck at introducing you to a new agent. It's kind of like you got your picture in the corner where the person's like smiling like this. Maybe they got their kid there, but you're just like, yeah. Like, I don't care about that person. Get me the house. So when you're looking at where you want to drop them, you can still introduce yourself, have a nice video, and then put all of the properties right there, because people don't care about really the real estate agent. That's always second. Like, we need to move. Let's find a home. Once we know it's viable, let's contact the agent. That's why the Zillow built an entire industry off of that. So when we're looking at we need to move and what do we need to do? We need to look at property. That splash page can say, hey, a small video. Hi, I'm John with, Arizona Properties. I know that you're going to want to look at the most, accurate home for your, budget and your lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. I've actually hand selected the areas, below. And I think that these are some properties that you like. If you don't find anything, please contact me, and I will deliver you, a custom setup feed for you, blah, blah. You're just wanting to introduce yourself. You're kind of like at the door, like in an open house. So when they come in, you're like, hi, I'm John. Go ahead and take a look around. Great. Now I know that it's John here, and I'm going to go take a look around. That's what your landing page should do, is be a brief introduction, but something memorable that that page can be a conduit to the IDX. Now, what I would say in terms of tracking, because you have the landing page, is you can do the chats, the phone calls, the link clicks to get into the IDX. And that is something that you can use as a micro conversion, maybe primary, depending upon your ad spend, your structure, and that kind of stuff, or secondary if you're able to actually pipe back in with quality leads, which we'll cover next when we're talking about that question here. But the first question, I would say, if you want to have a phone number, a chat, there you can like even leave a message. If you want to have the button clicks, so how many people are clicking on the properties. If you had 10 properties on the page, you can technically have a unique JavaScript event for each one of those properties. People that are coming in are really interested in that property. Excellent. Like, you can see what people are doing on the page based on those conversions that are being piped back in automatically through tag into Google Ads. Now, in terms of how to identify overall profitability, my opinion would be, and this is some clients we have some clients that are like 6 months, 8 month sales cycles. So we had to choose a previous point in time of the sale that still had a high amount of conversion rate to say, okay, if they did this, or if they became this type of lead, if we had this type of meeting, if they've had this type of consultation, if we were able to actually pull their credit, if we got them pre-approved for a mortgage, something like that, where you're like, okay, if I can track from at least when I meet the person to the next step that I would say, yes, get me more of those. That is the yes, get me more of these. That's what you want to track back in as a secondary conversion action back into Google Ads, because situational, people may change their minds. That's fine. That has nothing to do with the keyword. Really, like homes near me is not the reason why people are saying, you know what, we really just don't want to move away from grandma. That has nothing to do with Google Ads. That's going to be situational. So when it's developing leads, before it can fall into the situational reason why as to which they didn't purchase a home or you couldn't sell them home or whatever it is, you want to use that as your line of demarcation. And you do that with a CRM tool. HubSpot, Entreport, whatever it is. If you have a CRM tool that this is piping back in to say, I would actually use HubSpot, because HubSpot has a landing page developer and also has all of the tracking very, very accurate. And HubSpot is just great. HubSpot works well. It just doesn't break. I don't know why. It's fantastic. So instead of HubSpot, you can build a landing page and have your CRM tool with automated email and text all built into one. And then you can say, okay, this is the keyword, the ad group, the campaign, the date. This is what this person did. We keep them updated in the CRM tool. You can find out a report that campaign brought us this many people that went to that many, pre-approved mortgages, and it cost us $1,200 for every pre-approved mortgage that we got out of this campaign, and it came from that campaign, ad group, keyword, ad, etc. So that's what I would say is a good way to structure that and set up. It is going to be a little bit technical, but it can easily be done. Even freelancers on Fiverr can set you up with like a HubSpot CRM tool instance. So that would be something that I would do. We do that with an outdoor kitchen company that they have a $20,000 outdoor kitchen, takes 6 months to build. So when they put their down payment, we count that as a full bore sale, and then we just import the amount of money that they are approved and they are purchasing. We just found the point of that down payment is when we're like, okay, that good, sold for $21,000. So as soon as we receive that $500 down payment, because it's like a 95% success rate. If they put a down payment on, 95% of the time, they follow through with that kitchen. Cool. Hopefully that helps. All right. I don't have Ralph here to say, hey, shut up and move on. So I'm going to stop myself from trying to from rabbit holing. I had to make sure I just didn't skip over anyone. I did. My apologies. Mark, see what happens when I'm left up to my own devices. I get squirrely. Mark, all right. I have a PMAX campaign that's been hitting my TROAS goal of 350 for 6 weeks. How many months should I allow it to auto scale before making an assessment on growth? This is actually really relevant. And Mark, I don't know the omni-channel traffic strategy that you have running, or if it is even omni-channel. If you're like, hey, we're just running Google Ads and it's just Performance Max, and we can, with high degree of confidence, say, yep, this is working well. If it's hitting your TROAS goal of 350 for 6 weeks, my opinion is start to add in ad spend now and try to see if you can increase the ad spend without touching anything else. So don't change goals, because that then takes your entire time lag and waits for that to go through its cycle before it will then start to actually apply the new TROAS goals based on the results when they start in the pipeline first. So for example, 10-day time lag, you make a change on day 1, Google will start to measure that on day 11. And then from there on in the future, it'll then use that new bidding strategy and new results. But it's got to go through a sales cycle. So it might be 2 days, might be 30 days. So just know that as you also increase ad spend, that is day 1 minus your time lag. Then that is day 2, kind of that's the day that you kind of measure your change, is after that time lag. Then if that looks good for the next 7 to 10 days, then you can increase again. What people do is they increase, ROAS dips, they panic, and then they jump back out. It's like, well, you're filling the pipeline with more users, but you did not wait for the sales cycle. You did not wait to see that. So just make sure that you understand your sales cycle. You know your time lag. You know, as I increase my ad spend on day 1, I am not expecting to see anything positive until day 6. Day 6 is your first day of measurement, and then go on from there. But I would just try that first, because if it's hitting your TROAS targets and it's not a bunch of return traffic, return users, return customers, or overlap from another channel, then yes, then you can absolutely go and start to continue to scale that. Cool. Shazad. All right. Now, next one here. There we go. Perfect. What would you do if you're running multiple standard shopping campaigns with TROAS like 280, 300, 270, below 300%, all products segmented by performance, but sometimes it hits more than 350? So if you're running multiple standard shopping campaigns with those to ROAS and the products are segmented, I would look at your AOV first, your value per conversion, and verify that the value per conversion that you're seeing inside of Google Ads is relevant to the product that is being sold. It's really easy to kind of take a product like, I'm just going to say these sunglasses here, and I'm going to put these sunglasses here, and these sunglasses are $50, let's just say. And these $50 sunglasses have been hitting an AOV of 79. Or worse, these $50 sunglasses are hitting an AOV, a value per conversion of 26. If that is the case, what you have is technically we call that a content pivot, which means they were searching for something, they found this, they went there, they changed, and then they bought. Google doesn't understand that. All Google knows is people click on that ad and money pops up, but it has nothing to do with that product. So when you're hyper-segmenting campaigns and your search terms are good, verify that that is a product that's being sold by checking the price of that product inside the feed, minus any sort of discounts and incentives that you have. That is not going to be reflective in your feed. If a product's $50 and it's on sale on your site for $24.95 because it's half off, it's going to show up as $24.95 with 50. So just know that that price in the feed is not going to be reflective of any sort of discounts or sales, or any GMC promotions, that kind of stuff. But if you're looking at it and say, hey, we got no sales, nothing, it's a $100 product, look at the AOV. Because the tighter that those AOVs are, the more aligned that your price and your value per conversion are, the higher amount of chance that that product is actually the product that's being searched, clicked on, and sold. That is much easier scale than try to say, hey, these people are finding that, not liking it, searching on their own accord, finding something else, and thank God they're buying. Let's scale that. You're basically you're starting a detour and then trying to funnel more traffic into the detour. It's not gonna be smooth. So make sure that you're looking at your price and your value per conversion. If those are aligned, then you can absolutely scale and keep scaling to your heart's content. But typically what happens is if you scale and things don't really work out, is because there's something broken in the funnel, especially with standard shopping. If you have short sales cycles, good price, good product, and everything is scalable and easy, look at that first, because you may see some overlap and some consolidation. You may see some overlap or maybe some variables that are getting a lot of clicks, but other products are selling. So do an analysis of your search terms to the product that's being clicked on. If the product's being clicked on is also the product that's being sold, that is something that's very, very, very scalable. When an indicator that something's off is that your price and your value per conversion are not aligned. And we see that all the time. We had a YouTube video this last week of a $50 product making $300 sales. So YouTube was showing product A. They said, oh, that's cool. And then they went to the site and bought product B. And we're like, oh, we need to separate that out. I was like, well, not yet, because YouTube is just going to blanket everybody. And we actually have a whole bunch of SKUs. So people are just finding out that we have A, B, C, D, and E products. And they're like, wow, that sounds great. Let me go check out what else they have and then just buy whatever they want. That's still going to happen, though, when you're looking at, backyard umbrella, for example. And so backyard umbrella, they may find out that they were like, wow, this backyard umbrella is great. And they have a kitchen here or a back patio table that it fits in. And we love that. We need one of those too. Let's buy that because it's actually not the more expensive. That doesn't mean that everyone that's searching for a backyard umbrella is going to be buying a whole table. Just know that. So that may not be scalable if it's a pivot. All right. Cool. Oh, that's us. All right. D-Town. Cool name, man. I'm John. I have like literally the most generic name that you can possibly think of. So D-Town's pretty sweet. D-Town says, can you explain how we get budget the feeder strategy method for search campaign? How we should, I'm illiterate. How we should budget the feeder method for search campaigns. Also, what type of data layering should we consider for search campaigns in the feeder method? Yes. So in the feeder method, when you're looking at your max clicks / manual CPC or any sort of non-conversion based feeder strategy that's trying to get the first click from a user that Google has not yet identified as in the market for something because they had no data about them, I would actually use a 20 to 25% of your budget there. Reason being is typically your CPC between your feeder campaign and your conversion campaign, the CPC is about 75% less. So what's nice is you can actually equally you can equally raise the amount of traffic. Like if you have 100 people coming in every week and you add in 20% budget to the feeder strategy when you're adding in that max clicks or manual CPC, 20% incremental budget with a 80% less CPC is going to double the amount of traffic. So you take 100 people and turn them into 200 people. You don't necessarily need a whole bunch of money starting out because we don't know what the CPC difference is between Google's hyperinflated selling you conversion CPC and what you actually should have paid for a user in the CPC, like exact match with max clicks or manual CPC. But typically you're going to find some delineation, or so not delineation, some what's it called? You're going to find a fraction of that, essentially, a dividable number. So whatever your CPC is that is coming underneath your conversion campaigns, $4 in conversion campaign, $1 on max clicks, 25% more budget, $2 on max clicks, 50% more budget, 75 cents on max clicks, maybe 75% more budget. So look at the difference in those and then say, if I add in this much money, I can technically double the amount of users that my conversion campaign can go after. And that's great, because if you can double the amount of users your conversion campaign can go after with 20% more budget, you have a really good scenario for scale. So that's how I would look at it: is start off with maybe 5%, maybe 10%. Identify the CPC delta between those two. That percentile of delta between those two will then be your percentile of incremental increase to the feeder strategy. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, Soren. Hey, Soren, that is awesome. You've been around here for years, so I appreciate it, man. Or I hope you're male. Sorry. Anyway, appreciate you. Hey, John, did you find a good strategy to work for search and fully built PMAX? No. I actually tried to make full built PMAX work more and more and more. What ended up happening is that the search campaign was fairly effective at delivering a new user, but the full built PMAX had millions of people on all 6 networks that it can go after. That 1/6 of that budget did get a little bit better. Like the display remarketing got a little bit better, but then you'll see GSP blow up. And you're like, well, crap. So it's almost like you have like a dog, a puppy, and you have 6 lanes that the puppy can run down, and you're like, please run down that one. And it's like, you did it, and you didn't do it, and you didn't do it again. You did it. Like, it just basically takes all the money that it wants to and says, well, I don't really know if I can really go after that person you want me to go to on the channel. There's some cheap YouTube traffic over there. And then it just goes that way. So full build PMAX is, in my opinion, too diversified in order to scale at, $1, 2, 3, 4, $500,000 a month in terms of it finding the people that I wanted to go to. So when I locked it in by either isolating landing pages on feeder, on a feed only, or isolating the landing page and also removing like display images and that kind of stuff, then it kind of got more close to it. But full build PMAX just never came around. Unfortunately, it just never identified that it should go down a path and actually go down that path. Unfortunately, it just simply did whatever it want. So that was unfortunately no, but that hopefully that helps. All right. Mark, you said just PMAX. Did I miss something? Is this one? I have a PMAX campaign. Okay, yeah. So I would, definitely just see if you can try to scale just Performance Max, because if you can, and it is working, and you have that just PMAX, and you're good. If it's hitting that target, what Google is basically saying is, okay, you have told me that out of 100 people, you want a 350 ROAS. I found 50 out of 300, out of 100 people that you want a 350% ROAS on, I found 50 of those 100. So I know half of these people, but you only gave me budget for 2, 10, 30, 49. We don't know. So as you start to add in more budget, you're going to see that the targeting is going to allow itself to move into the people that it knows it can convert. And then as you keep adding in ad spend, and then it has to move out of the people that it know it can convert and into the people it doesn't know it can convert, that's where you're going to hit a point of diminishing return. Once you hit that point where you're adding in more money and either no more money is being spent, or when you add in more money and then the ROAS in-app and CPA in-app start to go off course, pull back, wait. If it can generate and find new users on its own, after about 2 to 4 weeks, you restart the process. You can then add in more budget. But it's really dependent upon that sales cycle and that time lag. If it takes a month for you to warm up traffic and convert them, you really can only increase your ad spend every 32 days, because you got to wait for the whole month to cycle through before you can say, okay, that did good. Day 32, do it all over again. Cool. Next one. A lot of accounts, more than 90% show the time to conversion is less than 1 day. Should we trust this data inside of the application? If not, any way knowing for sure with that attribution tool? So, what's funny is attribution tools can't even tell you this. Attribution tool cannot tell you time lag that a in-platform can, because in-platform knows of a user that it has identified with an ad and has impressed that person. But your attribution tools, Wicked included, can only tell you after they click what is that time lag. So there's two different things that you were measuring here. Is when is the time for first? Oh, you know what? We got some time. Let me actually. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna share with you how there's two different areas that you want to go into. So let me get this pulled up here for y'all. All right, I'm just gonna pull up a small account. So I'll pull up a smaller account just so you can see it's very, very, very similar. It's just really running, Performance Max right now. And it's just for a, kind of a singular group of products, just because we actually have another website that's dedicated to it. And this is kind of like a just a simple one. You can see these things are like, 900 ROAS, blah, blah, blah. So this one is just basically, it's like 40% existing customers. We want that because of supplements. So we want the existing customers to continually keep ordering from us. And it's, it's working well and everything's going good. But here's the difference. If you did this and you said the conversions days to conversion, you can see that for the most part, 25,000 out of 28,000 is in one day. Less than one day, you have like 95, 96%. I failed math in high school. 95, 96% of your conversion value is within one day in this view. This, though, is after they click. Now, if you look at this one, you can see that it's 7 days. This isn't after a click. This is after an impression. So these are two different things. One says after I started showing ads to people from day one, it took a week. After they click, it took a day. So the difference between your impression and your clicks could be 7 days. So make sure you're looking at the right area, because after they click, yeah, it's usually pretty quick. More often the reason why it's so fast after they click is because Google has such a, pardon my French, just a shit job at actually seeing how many clicks it really took. It's just like, what's the last thing they did? How long did that take? 1 day? Yeah, 1 day. They do a very poor job at sequencing the user's journey. For whatever reason, they have a lot better of a job at sequencing the user's impression, but the user's clickable journey, because Google has really, really poor attribution inside of the application, it always just thinks that yesterday was the first day for everybody. So your 1 day click is kind of by default. Most is 1 day click. It's really not, but it just is like, hey, out of 6 clicks, those look like 6 different people. No, they're not 6 different people. Those are 6 clicks from the same person. Those are 6 different people. And all those 6 different people all had 1 click and 1 conversion. No, it's not that. It's just that's how Google measures, because they suck. So when you look at the impressions, that's more of an indicator of your time lag. I would base your scalability on the indication of that time lag on the blue bar, because as you start to increase your ad spend, you'll see your costs go up, and then blue line, and then you see your revenue go up. That's usually what happens. That's more accurate to your time lag, if that helps. But sorry, I just want to make sure that I can share that with you in case, I'm not saying you're looking in the wrong area. But when you're looking at, so we trust the data, I at least can give you an indication as to why that blue line is there and then why that click line is there. One's measuring clicks, the other one's measuring impressions. Impressions are usually more about your time lag, especially on inbound, because when you look at search inbound, that impression right there, that blue line is from their first search that you showed up but never got a click. You could have been at the bottom of the page. You might have actually been. So if I'm looking at like garden hose, I don't know, I'm just making up stuff. If you look at garden hose, for example, and they're looking at like 4 shopping ads, maybe they click on someone else and maybe they click on a search ad and they're like, all right, well, look, maybe I'll buy a garden hose soon. Then 3 days later, they search garden hose again, and maybe you're a little bit higher. Maybe they click on you, and then they're looking at garden hose, and then they click on like 3 other competitors because they just want to find out who is free shipping that can get here tomorrow and best price. And then, 2 days later, they click on garden hose, and because you're running feeder strategy, you're showing up now at the top because you know that you're actually going to be one that converts them, and they click and then they buy. The search campaign is going to say a click and a buy. It took 1 day, but they started searching 7 days ago. That's the scenario as to how that measures. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand the ins and outs of how Google actually kind of, identifies your sales cycle and your time lag and how to base your strategies off of that. All right, cool. I actually went through all of the questions. This has actually been pretty efficient. We did eCPNV, a case study as to how it works in an omni-channel environment, and then went through each one of the Q&A. So not bad for working on a laptop on Friday. Yeah, Friday in a state that I don't even have my command center. So it was kind of fun stuff. But I mean, we have 10 minutes left. So if anybody else has any other questions, we'll give it kind of like 1 or 2 minutes to kind of drop those in here and see if we can start to answer any sort of questions before we do this again all next week. But if not, then we can give you 9 minutes back to your day. Go spend time with your family or your dog, whatever you got, and enjoy the rest of this kind of little New Year's break. And we'll see you all next week. So if anybody doesn't have anything here, let's just kind of see. I just want to make sure that if anybody's typing, I'm not like, okay, bye, and just like leaving someone there, not being able to chat in. Yeah, I think we're good to go, unless with anybody else coming in. Cool. Well, I appreciate everyone. I hope everyone had great. Oh wait, D-Town, you made it. I forgot. Any guidance on data layering for feeder search campaigns? So what's interesting about this is in terms of the conversions, if you're talking about data layering, my brain for data layering is like what in Google Tag Manager is going to be capturing on the data layer that is going to be imported into Google Ads for visibility. Is that what you mean by data layer? Because I'm thinking data layer like in Google Tag Manager about the parameters that we're capturing of users on the site. Is that what you're saying? All right, and then let's go ahead and D-Town, if you can help me identify what you mean by elaborate on data layering, that I can help there. Just that will help me. Ben says, explain the relationship between omni-channel advertising and the GA direct channel. He says, lol, just kidding, but you're not kidding. I will answer that. Omni-channel advertising, and it's funny. Are you talking about like Google Analytics or Google Ads? And Ben's a client of mine, so it's actually something we got to go back and forth on. So yeah, it's just funny. But if it's Google Analytics, I think that you should take your GA, and if you go into admin and then you see something that says delete account, that's the best thing for GA4. Like that's probably the best thing that you could do for GA4 is just, go ahead and hit that red delete button. You don't need it. And then just contact tier 11. You'll be talking to a guy named TJ. You'll buy Data Suite. The clouds will part, the heavens will shine, you will ascend, and everything will be great. So hopefully, Ben, that just kind of gives you the next step there. My bad, I meant audience layering in regards to targeting. Or should both campaigns be set to observation? Yes. So here's what's funny is a correlation and causation between inbound search in Google is actually really, really interesting. So at any point in time in Q4, post kind of December 1st, everybody in the audience targeting is shopping for Christmas gifts. So when someone goes and signs up for like a license renewal of their, motorcycle, I don't know, I'm thinking of something that is irrelevant. When they click on an ad to like update their, I moved to a new town and now I'm clicking on the DMV that's running, Google ads, really, really random, but that person is now a Christmas shopper. So just because it's correlated doesn't mean it's causated. So what I usually look at is in terms of audience layering, I start off all the time with just observation. Now I actually could care less how Google has identified that audience if I have good performance. I actually do this with all of the demographics. So age, sex, even location, really, because location sometimes kind of off, but household income, parental status, all of those, I really don't care if they're accurate. I care if they look good because I will put more money into that. So if a person is like, hey, we actually sell more garden hoses to people that like yoga, I don't care. Is it scalable? That could be wrong, but it works. So I always started on observation and then don't say, okay, this is set in stone and these are these people. These affinities and in markets are rock solid. No, it could just be that their existing internet ecosystem activity has been identified as this. But just because a person is Christmas shopping that buys garden hoses doesn't mean that everybody that's interested in garden hoses is a Christmas shopper. So you kind of see that there's not really related. They're just identified by that. So set it to observation first. If it works, unfortunately, with a target ROAS or anything like that, you can't really increase your bids for them. You can't do an advanced bid adjustment in observation mode like you can on manual CPC. If you're using smart bidding, it just gets ignored. But you can on feeder strategy where you can start to pay more for those users. But just make sure that if it looks irrelevant, it may be, but it still may work. So test that there and see if that works for you. Analytics, perfect. So yeah, exactly. Just delete that thing and a lot less stress is great. Mark says, thanks as always. You got it, Mark. Glad. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm only here for you all, so I appreciate you all. You allow me to do this each Friday, which I really find a lot of fun. Alex says, go to settings and find delete the account. That's exactly right. It's honestly the best thing for you. Really is. GA4 uses modeled data that is not click data, but is attempting to fingerprint a sequence of events and then use data-driven attribution off of clicks and then AI enhanced modeling off of the zero data to give you what Google thinks happened that day. That spawned the reason for Data Suite. If that worked, I wouldn't have a job. So I'm just saying, like, that's kind of how that works. It's modeled. That's why if you look at GA4 yesterday, it's like, I come back tomorrow, I'll tell you what happened yesterday. It's because it takes 48 hours for Google to be like, oh, what the hell do we think happened? And then they get it half wrong. My opinion is if it's 80% accurate or less, you're going to take your client's hard-earned ad spend and say, man, I really hope GA4 was right yesterday. And if not, you get fired, your clients lose money. And that's why I think sometimes the best just to delete that thing. Yep. D-Town says, thanks for the info. Greatly appreciated. You're very, very welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking the question. Please come back. I'm here every Friday. Make money online. Great name again. Was that Data Suite or Data Sweep? So it's actually Data Suite, SUITE. It's an exclusive product through Tier 11, the agency that you're watching this on right now. Tier 11 has built the Data Suite. We're going to do more videos on it when me and Ralph kind of come back on, which is we have actually built a edge tag technology to tag people even before they get to the site. So the accuracy is very, very good. Pipe that into our own data warehouse. So our servers to then be piped back into a CRM tool back to the platform. So it's it's a really great way to kind of say, hey, I don't want ad blockers to mess me up. I want to have my fingerprinting and my tracking to be really, really, really accurate. I want to kind of see how true I can get with this metric. And that's why when I pulled up Wicked reports on Make Money Online, I know that 1.9% of traffic that's coming from Performance Max is cold. That is insane. I mean, that is 98% accurate, basically 98.1% accurate. It's fantastic and really helps us scale. So that's Data Suite by Tier 11. Yep. Tier 11 Data Suite launching next week officially. Hey, this turned into an infomercial. Jose, Happy New Year, Jose. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Do you use GA4 imported conversions as primary in accounts? No, I actually, whenever I use imported conversions, I use tag or CRM data. Reason why you'd want to be wary about using GA4 imported conversions is because it actually goes through GA4's Omni-Channel data-driven attribution before it will allow credit to be given to the actual network that started it first, which then can be imported back into Google Ads. So, for example, if you get a Google ad click and then you get a direct click, if GA4 can't identify those two people as being the same person, Google Ads gets no credit, and you just think that someone showed up out of the goodness of their heart that day. There should never be a direct channel in GA4 if it worked. There should never be a direct channel if GA4 worked. That means that someone woke up one day, typed in your URL perfectly by never clicking on an ad or link ever anywhere in the history of time, and then came and bought. That doesn't happen when your direct channels also have 10% conversion rate. So for whatever reason, these people that we've never seen before, that have never been to the site before, that never clicked on an ad before, that never saw anything before, just woke up one day and said 10% conversion rates because I need a garden hose now. It's not. The fact that direct channel exists in GA4, that traffic that you see there comparative to all of the other channels is how much it's missing. So take that out of the total equation and say, this is what I couldn't send to Google Ads or to Meta or wherever it needs to go. That is how much inaccuracy there is in GA4. Casually dropping a product launch. Nice. Hey, I got to sponsor the show myself, Any good chatbots I should consider on a budget? Talk to, TAWK.TO. Free chat. They are staff chats. I would stay away from chatbots. People just use them like a contact form, but they are $1 an hour and you get to set the time that they are actually there. So if you're like, hey, I need it from 9 to 5, it costs you $8 a day. And there's a person there that will actually chat back and forth, the full script and everything all online. So TAWK.TO, talk to. I use it all the time. Fantastic. Is a data suite available for EU GDPR? Great question. Don't know. I will find that out. I would say yes, but I am not an attorney. So I got to make sure that all that stuff is compliant, but I'm the wrong person to ask. So that's a great question. I will find out. And actually, unfortunately, now it is 1:30 my time. I do have to jump. Really appreciate it, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a lot of fun, and we will see you all next week when we do the live again. Thank you. Everyone have a great rest of your new year, and we'll see you soon.